Okay, we'll wait a few more seconds and then we'll get started, Lisa, okay? I was expecting Judge Morgan and Judge Phillips. Okay, are we all set, Lisa?
We are. Mike Morgan just got on.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. It is 6:02 on December 10th. And welcome. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And before we go on with our business, I would like to just take a few seconds for everybody to just think about the families that have been impacted by COVID and the frontline workers and what's going on in our world, what is continuing to go on locally, statewide, nationally, and worldwide. And so if we can just take a few seconds just to have a brief moment of silence, I'd appreciate that. And then we'll get on with our business. Okay, thank you. The first item on the agenda is recognition of retiring Town Clerk Lisa Hammond and Justice Rosemary Phillips. I'll start. Rosemary, I'm not sure she's on, so we'll wait a few minutes, and if she joins us, then we'll circle back. But Lisa, on behalf of the town of Canton. Oh, can you unmute yourself? Did you?
I can do that.
Okay.
Okay.
So Lisa, on behalf of the town of Canton, we'd like to publicly recognize you and thank you for your over 30 years of service to the town of Canton. You started at a young age.
12.
And you know, you spent time in the village clerk's office and then in the court office as clerk, and then you moved down over up.
Yeah, getting closer to the door.
Yeah.
Been great.
As town clerk, and you know, over 30 years is a long time, and your public service has been appreciated, and you know, we wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors. You've got a lot going on, and if I may, I was just looking through your file here, and
If it's not a picture.
oh, there's no pictures in here.
Good.
There probably should be. But what I find interesting, and I see Michael Hammond is joining us as well, but I just wanted to say, I found this one employee data card, and it was dated January 27th of 93. And your dependent children, Michael Stephen was age 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kendra was age 3.
Yes.
Way back when. So I just thought that was nice to see in your file. And certainly you know, Michael's a little older now, and so is Kendra. And, you know, it's probably some days it hasn't gone by fast, but in the long run it has.
Oh, it went fast.
So,
Looking forward to the next 30 years. Yeah.
mhm,
You think of how many times I've walked in and out of this front door. It's been a lot of times.
mhm. You've seen a lot of change
Yep.
and
I met a lot of
progress.
wonderful people and made a lot of wonderful friends,
Mhm,
the community and coworkers.
mhm.
Wouldn't change it.
So we appreciate
It's a
it.
good job.
Would any other board member like to say something? Okay.
Sure. So, thank you, Lisa. You're going to be
I want to put one more darker one.
Mistake.
missed but not forgotten.
See how this nice, this
Oh,
pattern?
yeah.
And then it dies out this one.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
put
yeah.
two of the same board.
Somebody's
Oh,
not
right.
muted here.
It's me.
That house is.
Of course. Oh, Linda.
Okay. Any other board member? Tim?
I'll just jump in quick and thank Lisa for many years, and hopefully she's willing to come back at some point where we can do this not over Zoom and
Yes.
something more proper.
I know. My retirement party's just been shot all to COVID here. Thank
Okay.
you.
Lisa, I just want to wish you good luck in your future endeavors, and it's been great working with you for the last almost year.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your retirement.
Oh, I will. Thanks, Karen.
Mhm. Jim?
As I mentioned yesterday, I spent 18 years with you, Lisa, with
Mhm.
8 as supervisor, now 10 on the board. Lot of memories. Spent a lot of time in my office as supervisor with my clerk and I having lunch, and it's hard to believe that it's gone by. Just so
I appreciate everything you did for me, Jim. You're a good friend.
enjoy whatever it is you do.
I will.
Okay, great. So I don't see Rosemary is on. Lisa, is she?
She is not.
Okay, well, I'm going to publicly recognize her anyways. On behalf of the town board, Rosemary spent a little time on the town council and then became justice. And we wish nothing but the best for her as well. You know, she's been a great community member. She is an instructor at SUNY Canton, and we've really appreciated her service as well. And Justice Morgan, I see you're on. Would you like to add any words for the record? Well, I don't know if he can hear us. Judge?
Yes, I was having an issue unmuting my microphone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's been really great working with Rosemary. She certainly taught me quite a bit and helped me get going when I first started. And so I appreciate everything that she's done. And she's has helped other judges in the area too and filled in different courts. So she'll be missed.
Okay. Thank you. Mark, would you like to add anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm gonna miss her. She was a wonderful judge to work with, and we got along real well, and we had a lot of laughs and, you know, serious moments when it came to court and arraignments and prelims and all that different stuff. But I look forward to the future as well with our new judge. Thank you.
Marion, I just let someone in with a phone number. It could be Rosemary.
Okay.
Not sure.
The next item on the agenda is public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to, we're here to listen. So if you would like to speak, if you could just, show us by a raise of hand and unmute yourself. We are here to listen. If you could identify yourself, we'd appreciate that as well. So, is there any public comment?
Okay.
Actually, oh, I don't know how to raise my hand. Lynn
Okay.
Fouye here.
All right, we'll start with Lynn.
This is all new to me. I apologize.
That's okay.
I just wanted to wish Lisa well, and thank her for her years of service to our town. We're going to miss seeing you, Lisa, when we come into the office, and you've been very helpful over the years with different things that we've needed to have done. I guess I kind of have a question, and whether or not you're able to answer it now, probably not. But my question is with Lisa retiring, whether or not you've given any thought or what the plans are for filling her position, and how is that going to affect the trickle down or trickle up or whatever, for Heidi's Smith's position that she has now. Just kind of curious as to, if you've got anything any plans for filling Lisa. I guess that's it.
Well, it is the board's appointment. Did you know that, Lynn?
I don't know. I know nothing about any of this. I was just kind of curious.
When I'm in this seat, it's my appointment, but once I leave, it's their appointment to appoint somebody to finish my term for the 1 year.
Okay. And your position was something that we voted, obviously, on yours. So in a year, it'll go up for vote again.
One more,
Is that what it is?
there's one more year in my term.
Okay. Okay. Well, that answers it. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
One of those things that I just don't know.
Okay.
Well, thank you again, Lisa. It's been
You're
a
very welcome.
pleasure. Alrighty.
Mine too.
Yep.
Thank you, Lynn.
You're welcome.
Any other public comment? Okay, Linda Casserly, you want to unmute?
In the St. Lawrence County Historical.
Well,
Association.
Lisa and I have been a team she's 31 years, I'm 30 years. And I can't say much more, but I miss you. And thanks for all you did.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Yes.
You want to just mute yours? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, any further public comment? Okay, the next item on the agenda is county legislature representative updates. I don't believe we have any representative here. Lisa, I don't believe so.
No one.
Okay, thank you. The next item is approval of minutes of the regular meeting on November 12th and special meeting on November 18th. I need a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Karen Blackburn, seconded by, was it Bob?
Bob, I thought. Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions? All right.
Just nothing on that, Marianne, but I would just suggest, I know we have some people on here that are interested in our, the first item under old business, and I would suggest for the interest of everyone that we move that up and consider that next before we continue with the regular agenda,
We can do that.
if the board is agreeable.
Okay. But we do have a motion and a second on the minutes. So I need to, all in favor, say aye.
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 Carried. Okay. So we do have under old business, 2021 health insurance contributions. And we do have a few retirees here. So I know that they've wanted to speak with the board. So we can either start that way, or we can just go over the resolution.
I suggest reading the resolution and starting there.
That's what I was thinking myself. So we have 3 separate resolutions regarding health insurance contributions. There's one titled the increase in health insurance contributions. A second one to amend the current non-contract policy for town-sponsored health insurance for full-time non-contract employees. And the third one is policy for town-sponsored health insurance for eligible elected officials. So I'll read the first one. Whereas the town of Canton's health insurance costs have steadily increased over years, currently costing the town close to $250,000 for active employees and retirees. And whereas health insurance contribution for highway employees are a negotiated labor contract item, health insurance contributions for non-contract employees are determined in a written non-contract policy. Health insurance contributions for elected officials designated as full-time, town clerk, and town highway superintendent are determined by the action of the town board, and health insurance contributions for retirees are determined by the action of the town board. And whereas the town of Canton was cited in the 2017 New York State audit for significant discrepancies in the collection of health insurance contributions from employees and retirees, including collective contributions less than required by policy and/or contract, and providing health insurance to individuals who were not eligible. And the town board has completed their due diligence in assessing the costs and have determined that prior practices are not sustainable because of the continued financial outlook to all taxpayers. And therefore be it resolved, the Canton Town Board hereby determines non-contract employee health insurance contributions will increase from 20 to 25% of the cost of the premium. The town clerk will contribute the same amount as the non-contract employee policy. The highway employee contributions will be determined through the negotiated labor contract. The highway superintendent will contribute the same amount as highway employees pursuant to the labor contract. And retirees will contribute 50% of the town-sponsored health insurance, including supplemental health insurance premiums. That is the resolution at this time. So the board has grappled with this for a few years because of the state audit and other contributing factors. And when a town is audited by the New York State Comptroller's Office, they cite certain items, and the town has to come up with a corrective action plan to implement. And we were cited in 4 different areas of health insurance during this audit that was started in 2017. So the board has discussed this as well during our 2021 budget deliberations, and most recently about the costs and the percentage of contributions.
Marianne, I think Mr. Dudley is trying to speak, but he's muted. I don't know if Lisa can help him unmute.
Mr. Dudley, did you want to speak? Oh, you have to unmute your microphone on your computer.
There.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, you have spoken as to certain criticisms by the state auditors, but the only one you specified was that there were some differences in payments by various classes of people and other things. And can you specify the other things before we have to reply to it?
As far as the contributions for retirees, we have some paying a certain percentage and some paying another. And
what are the sums? Who are the sums? I mean, can we talk, are there classifications of people or classes of people or age differentials, or who are paying different amounts, different percentages?
We have one retiree paying according to the highway contract that should have been applied at 50%.
None of the persons here that have been objecting to this are ex-highway employees, so that's not applicable.
Okay,
Amongst the retirees who are not highway employees, where are the differences?
we have a few that fall under the low income bracket as well. And there's a special formula to that. So, but in 2017,
Amongst the rest of us that are in the, let's say, 75 to 90 bracket, where are there any differences in amongst us?
in 2017, the amount of contribution equated to approximately 25% of the premium. This board, we have not increased that. That has been flatlined for the last 3 years. Approximately 25% of the premium 3 years ago.
Persons in our class are all being treated equally. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm not sure what you mean by class.
There are 8 to 10 of us that I've been told that are the subject of raising this our annual contribution. And if all of us are now paying the same, I'd just like you to verify that. Are we all paying the same now?
As I said, there is one person that is paying 50%. There's one person with the low income guideline, and then the rest is the same. And
One person paying 50% is by contract. Is
yes,
that correct?
yes.
Well, we've taken the position all along that we also have a contract. I worked for the town for 29 years. During that time, the town gave me as a benefit health insurance, including health insurance, post-retirement health insurance. I worked for that. When I retired, I worked 29 years for the town of Canton. And when I retired, I expected the town to honor the contract we had, that they were going to pay my benefits until death. How am I different from the highway department?
Was that a written agreement, Dick?
Doesn't have to be written. They said they'd do it to me, and I worked. In return for my work, they were going to do this for me. I performed my end of the bargain. You aren't performing your end of the bargain.
Would any other board member like to speak to this?
Well, I think being relatively new to the board, what we're finding here is there was a lot of agreements, some written, some not, that transpired over the years. And here we are at a point where different people are under the impression that they retired under different agreements. But what we have is the state telling us that we are not collecting what we're supposed to from the retirees. And we also are said that, town has the ability to amend those agreements as necessary. So it's a difficult spot for us to be in. My concern in terms of this year, I know there's a lot of moving pieces in this, and I wish we'd gotten these notices out quicker. because we bumped up against the open enrollment deadline in a way that didn't work out very well. So we need to be sensitive to that.
Well, Tim, I appreciate the problems that you have, and but the state people can claim that you don't have to honor it, but they don't have to defend a lawsuit. And I don't want to start any lawsuits. I'd like to get this settled. When we first agreed to make contributions, which we didn't have to do, I didn't believe, but the town came to us, contacted us, requested a meeting. We sat down and we worked it out. And we've agreed with increases over the years. The fact that nobody's come to us the last 3 years to seek additional increases, that wasn't our problem. We certainly aren't going to come and voluntarily offer more money to you. But then all of a sudden just hit us with a letter and say, okay, we're going to make you pay 50%. I don't think that's appropriate either. I think we should have been consulted previously and been able to had an opportunity to discuss this.
I guess with all due respect, we had a similar conversation last year about this, and the board had decided not to take any action at that time. But I beg to differ that the letter did not come out of the blue, that this is the second time we were having pretty much the same discussion. And the pressure on us over it hasn't really changed since then. And I guess I just want to make sure that everybody else understands that we're talking about supplemental insurance. This is not primary insurance, that these are supplemental plans. And I think that's important to note.
It's a supplemental plan, or whether it's supplemental or primary, the town agreed years ago and has followed through on a number of retirees. Faye Peters, Frank Norton, Johnny Oliver, they've all received these benefits as publicized, or as publicized, and we're just seeking that same treatment.
Mr. Dudley, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How does this increase differ, in your opinion, from the other increases that you've agreed to over the years?
It's significantly more, for one thing. The other increases were designed to keep us at the same percentage we were at and that we had agreed to. And now all of a sudden it's going up to 50%. The previous supervisor maintained kind of the same percentage that we had initially agreed to. As the premiums went up, then he increased our contribution as a percentage of the increase.
I understand that, and I think it's those actions that we're being called to the carpet for by the state. And so that's the position we find ourselves in. And I'm not going to disagree that previous administrations handled it differently, but the state came to us and said those administrations handled it wrong and they want us to correct it. And that's what we're attempting to do here.
I have a hard time accepting that, and not because of what you're saying, but because of what they're saying. The state changes things on their own. Look at the retirement system. You have tier 1 retirees, then you had tier 2 retirees, then you had tier 3 retirees. They changed that. They're all different. They're treating their retired employees differently.
I don't disagree with that, but I think the one thing from the town's end that has stayed constant through all the policies, and we've had this verified, that the town has had the option of adjusting insurance at any time for non-contractual employees. And so that option has always been there for the board. And we're just in a position where we need to employ that.
Jim Smith is trying to say something. Jim?
And Dick, as Mary Ann pointed out, and you pointed out yourself, you had an agreement, however many years ago, that you would contribute 25% of your cost. And since nothing has, within the last 3 years anyway, and maybe longer, the town has not applied that 25% to your actual cost. Therefore, what has happened, because the amount you have been paying for the last 3 or 4 years has remained constant, now you've gone from actually paying 25% to 20 or less. And that's the other, that's another problem that we're wrestling with. And is that our fault? Yes, it's our fault. But again, I mean, you had agreed at one point to pay 25%, and today you're not even doing that. But with that being said, I understand that Mary Ann and I worked on this, and we worked on it for quite a little while, and it took time. By the time we could hook up with attorneys and get this done, one of the things that happened is we did miss the open enrollment deadline. And so what I would propose is that we change the resolution from 50% to 35%, which would be 10% more than what you've been agreeing to pay. And we do that for 21, and then in 22 we'll make the additional adjustment to 50. But what that will do to all of our retirees is that will give you all the retirees a full year to, or close to a year anyway, to look at what options they have in terms of enrollment in some other supplemental thing. I'm not happy about this. None of the board members are happy about this. But you know, we have people telling us, what are you doing here? Why are you supplementing retirees' health insurance on the backs of the balance of the taxpayers? And basically that's what we're doing. And that's what they're telling us is that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing it. So, I mean, we're doing it. They're writing us up for it. Could we continue to do this and maybe nothing happened? I don't know. But I think in order for us to be responsible, I think we should be doing what we should be doing. And so, but I'm going to offer that as a compromise, at least for now, that we change the number in that resolution from 50% to 35 and try to move forward.
If that's a motion, I can support that as well.
That my motion would be to change, the only thing that we'd be changing in the language of that resolution that you have in front of you, Mary Ann, would be to change that figure from 50% to 35. But then you would have to add a paragraph at the end of that stating in the year 20, as of January 1, 2022, that contribution will go from 35% to 50% for the year 2022.
So that is a motion from Jim Smith. And Bob, did you second that?
I do.
Okay, further discussion? Any questions? Oh, Karen, did you want to say something?
No,
Oh,
I was just been meeting for the rest of the vote.
all right.
I mean, I guess I'd be interested to hear some reaction from some of the retirees that are on the call. afford them the opportunity to.
I'm confused as to whether this is a vote on the motion to enact, to pass the proposal, or just to amend the proposal and then have a vote on the amended proposal.
The motion is to amend the current resolution that was read, take out the 50%, amend it to 35% for 2021, and then 50% for 2022.
You're not voting on that.
I'm okay with the vote being to amend, and then if you want us to take a separate vote on the actual resolution, that's perfectly acceptable.
All right, Tim, you wanted to hear, I see Linda Curry's on as well.
I mean, I guess if there's reaction to that, I'd be interested to forward some of the retirees or the representatives that are on to hear it. I don't know if
I
Linda's
see
trying to.
Linda, I see Linda talking, but she's still muted.
Linda Curry, did you want to say something? If you could just unmute yourself.
Click down there on the bottom left.
On the screen, Linda, underneath everyone's pictures, there's a place to unmute.
Drag the mouse across.
Lisa, I think you can send her a request to unmute and then it'll give her a prompt.
I've done that a couple times.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Does she want to maybe just call into?
Or type in the chat.
She can call into Mary Ann's office and put her on speaker. If anybody else. I'd like to afford those that want to say something the opportunity to say something. Mary Ann, just want to give her your office number and maybe Linda can call in and speak through the phone.
386. Linda Curry, do you want to call in? Okay, 386-2962. Linda?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have you on speaker and there might be some echoing, but let's give this a try.
Okay.
You should mute.
Yeah, my concern is how long ago were you notified from the state that this, what you were doing they consider wrong?
Can you repeat that again, Linda?
Yes, I was wondering, how long ago did the state notify you that what you guys were doing was wrong?
The state audit started, I believe, mid 2017. And it went into 2018. And then the report came back towards the end of 2018 into 19.
And then this decision gets made and we don't get notice until November, right? It just seems really, really wrong to me, all ways around. If this was going to be raised, we should have had a chance to come in and talk to the board. And we also should have had a lot more notice.
Can everybody hear that, what she was saying?
I mean, going up to 50%, I think is a lot to expect of people. I know everybody's saying, well, your budgets are in problems because of the COVID and all the expenditures. But I truly believe that maybe there could be cuts elsewhere that doesn't affect the retirees that have worked years for the county and the towns and the villages. So is there a fine from the state on the town?
Is there a fine from the state?
Yes, will you be fined if you do not raise this up to 50%? Or is it just a recommendation they're giving the town?
The state audit cited us for this, and we put in a corrective action plan to study it and address it. Because the contractual amounts were not applied at the time of retirement for the contractual employees. That was one piece. And we need to correct that.
But that doesn't answer my question. Will the town be fined? Is it against the law not to bring it up to 50%?
Is it against the law?
Right. Is there any reason that the state will?
It's against their own policies, and that sets a dangerous precedent.
And also, as long as you've known this for this length of time, I don't understand why we weren't given a chance to talk. I really don't.
Well, as Bob pointed out earlier, when we got notified of it, we did attempt this once before, and the retirees did come in and talk to us about it. And at that point, we decided not to do anything about it. And the auditors are not happy with that. And you can't just continue to put off doing what needs to be done. That's our job. It's not fun at times, but that's our job.
And another way that I've been looking at this has been, I think it's important for us to follow our own policies and act on the corrective action on the issues that were pointed out by the comptroller, because I think it is important that we are in a fiscal position to continue to offer something to retirees for as long as possible. And if we aren't cognizant of how we're spending, we put all insurance at risk ultimately. So I see this as a step in ensuring the resiliency of the retiree insurance by making these difficult but necessary decisions. And for the record, no decision has been made yet. I've heard it characterized a couple of times now. Folks should have been notified before we've made the decision. No decisions have been made, and that's what we're here talking about tonight.
So no resolutions getting signed tonight.
I didn't say that. I said no decisions have been made up until this point. A resolution has been presented and even reconsidered in detail. So nothing's been decided.
I'm just sad that the town has come to this point. And I really am with the employees. People that should be backed are not being backed, I don't feel. So, but that's all I have to say on the matter. Thank you.
Just like to add one other thing that you say that we didn't do anything for this. I accepted this in lieu of raises, in lieu of applying for additional funds when I was employed by the town, because I was receiving this. And now it's being taken away from me. it's being taken away from me either by not having it or by having to pay much more for it than was contracted way back when I started working for the town and when it was offered to us. You know, to me, I feel that you know, you're taking advantage of me now for my 29 years of work for the town.
Mr. Dudley, I'm a rather new board member, so I haven't been around for the full history of this, but I would just like to comment that we are doing this in response to an audit that the state has done. We're not trying to take advantage of the retirees, and we wouldn't be an effective board if we weren't responding to the state's requests of us.
We went through a lot of audits and we got a lot of criticism and we didn't always respond to their liking. But they would like to see everything in writing and make their job easy. Well, it's not your job to make their job easy.
I respect your time that you were employed at the town. I just don't want to see the town get into a position where we ignore the requests of the state and then our ability to provide benefits to the retirees is completely taken away.
Who threatened you with that?
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Who threatened you with taking away your ability to deal?
We don't know what the actions of the state will be if we don't respond to their requests. I'm just saying we're trying to be cognizant of penalties of future requests of the state.
I won't comment on that.
What is the response from Linda and Mr. Dudley to changing the resolution to 35%? Not leaving it at 50%, and any other retirees that are on the line?
We're going to be changed to 35% for, that would be the ongoing amount. I probably could live with it, but just for 1 year and then back to 50% after that, no, I can't, I don't live with that. And I can only speak for myself, and I don't know how many numbers there are of people in our position, whether 8, 9, 10 older retirees.
There's 12 people,
Well,
but not 12 retirees, that some have spouses, such as yourself. And with
retirees or survivors of retirees.
right. So we do have a motion by Jim Smith, and Bob, you seconded it. Jim, does that motion still stand?
Yes, and as Bob said, let's vote on the amendment, and then we can vote on the amended resolution.
Okay, so there is a motion to amend the resolution from 50% to 35% for 2021 and 50% for 2022. So there's a motion on the table. There's a second. Bob, you second that?
Correct.
All right, let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 The amendment is carried. So now I'll read the full resolution as amended. Whereas the town of Canton's health insurance costs have steadily increased over years, currently costing the town close to $250,000 for active employees and retirees. And whereas health insurance contributions for highway employees are a negotiated labor contract item, health insurance contributions for non-contract employees are determined in a written non-contract policy. Health insurance contributions for elected officials designated as full-time, the town clerk and town highway superintendent, are determined by the action of the town board, and health insurance contributions for retirees are determined by the action of the town board. And whereas the town of Canton was cited in the 2017 New York State audit for significant discrepancies in its collection of health insurance contributions from employees and retirees, including collecting contributions less than required by policy and/or contract, and providing health insurance to individuals who were not eligible. And the town board has completed their due diligence in assessing the costs and have determined that prior practices are not sustainable because of the continued financial outlook to all taxpayers. And therefore be it resolved, the Canton Town Board hereby determines non-contract employee health insurance contributions will increase from 20 to 25% of the cost of the premium. The town clerk will contribute the same amount as the non-contract employee policy. The highway employee contributions will be determined through the negotiated labor contract. The highway superintendent will contribute the same amount as highway, excuse me, employees pursuant to the labor contract, and retirees will contribute 35% for the year 2021 of town-sponsored, 35% for 2021 and 50% for 2022 of town-sponsored health insurance, including supplemental health insurance premiums. I need a motion for that resolution.
Clarification, I think that should say 2022 and beyond.
I don't believe that was the motion.
Was that the motion, Jim?
That's fine with me.
Okay, and beyond.
If the feeling,
I missed
that that's necessary.
I agree. I think it's important to include that verbiage.
It just needs to be as clear as possible.
35% for 2021 and 50% for 2022 and beyond. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Jim Smith, second by Bob Washoe. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Shall we do the other resolutions as well?
Mary Ann,
I'm sorry?
this is Mark. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is, I just have a questions about current employees in the health insurance.
That is our next resolution.
Okay, I'll wait. Thank you.
The next resolution is to amend the current non-contract policy for town-sponsored health insurance for full-time non-contract employees. Whereas the town board of the town of Canton has caused a comprehensive review of previously adopted town resolutions policies as they relate to town-provided health insurance while employed and in retirement for non-contract positions of the town. And whereas said review has prompted the town board to clarify, amend, restate, and newly adopt a town non-contract policy amended as it relates to non-contract positions regarding entitlement to health insurance and who retire directly from town service. Now therefore be it resolved, amending Article 4, Health Insurance, Section 1, the town shall pay the premium less the required employee contribution for health insurance with major medical coverage for all eligible members and their dependents. Effective January 2021, non-contract full-time employees will pay 25% of the health insurance premium. And Section 2, effective January 2021, non-contract retirees will pay 50% of the premium provided they work 20 years of the town and obtained the age 55. The town board reserves the right to annually modify and or revise its policies concerning health insurance, including the right to require higher employee contributions and or terminate such insurance.
So given what we just did, wouldn't that need to be modified to reflect the adjustments in the previous resolution with regard to retirees?
Yes.
So the language would have to mirror the previous resolution in the retiree section.
35% for 2021 and 50% for 2022 and beyond. Is there a motion for this resolution?
Motion.
Motion by Bob Washoe. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I would like to just ask a couple questions.
Just a minute, Mark. Is the board entertaining a question from one of our employees?
It's all right with me.
Sure.
Yes, Mark.
I met with Tim and Jim last week with Rosemary and Mike. And a couple questions I had is, you know, I understand what the retirees are saying. You know, 5% in 1 year seems like a lot. That 5% is going to increase my health insurance premium over $50 a month. And a couple questions. One, did you ever inquire about maybe changing the policy? Maybe, you know, if we have a gold policy now to where maybe you could look at a silver policy. Not only are my premiums going up, my co-pays are going up quite a bit too. And my question is, you know, we're trying to uniform insurance, as Jim said at last month's meeting, you know, is there a way that we can go 2.5% this year, 2.5% next year? You know, does it have to be such a drastic percent all in 1 year?
To answer
You
your
know,
to answer your question, Karen Blackburn and I have been researching health insurance and the different plans throughout this past year, and to see if there could be a cost savings going to a different plan. That is a lot to digest and consider. It's also a negotiated item under the highway contract. You know, if we have been looking at different plans, but we're not there yet as far as which ones to recommend or which ones would be less expensive. It's a lot. Karen, do you want to speak to that?
I feel almost.
Let me have Karen speak, Mark, to that as well.
Even if you go to a cheaper plan for premiums, it does change for out-of-pocket costs for specific services. I see this with my company. Emergency room visit out-of-pocket costs have gone up by $6,000 to $8,000 just by dropping one level of the plan from gold to silver. So while Marianne and I have not had a whole lot of time to set aside to review the different plans, I have done so where I work, and we don't want employees to feel the effects of changing the plans elsewhere. You will feel effects out of your own pocket if that happens. You know, if it's a case of, I don't know, Marianne, if in the past you've offered the information about other plans and allowed employees to choose. I don't know, but I do know that once you start moving to different levels of plans, employees will see the effects out of their pocket in different ways, even if your premium is cheaper.
I mean, I have to have insurance, obviously, but I'm concerned about the 5% all in 1 year. You know, that's a lot of money, you know, and I know due to COVID, and I'm very thankful that we got a raise for next year, but ultimately my take-home pay is going to be less next year than it is this year because my insurance is going up so drastically. And I wondered if, you know, if it could be, you know, a step you know, a step this year, a step next year. It's a lot to take, you know, in one paycheck, I feel. I mean, I don't know who else has health insurance, but I keep hearing, you know, the highway with the contract and the union, and it's almost, I feel as though like we might be penalized because we're not in the union where someone can negotiate our health insurance premiums for us. And I've heard that said so many times tonight that it kind of worries me. Is that you know, they have a union, we don't. They're protected for a 3-year contract, 2-year contract, whatever they might have. You know, I don't know, their contract, I'm sure, started before COVID. So I don't know what their increase in pay was for 2021, but I'm assuming it's probably more than 1%. And it's just, I just personally feel that, you know, if we could just take maybe a couple years to raise it to the 25%, financially, it wouldn't be as hard a burden on me and the other people that have insurance.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So we do have a motion and a second for this resolution. Does the motion still stand? Bob, did you make that motion? I apologize for not. Who made the motion for this?
It was Bob and Karen.
Thank you.
Yep.
Does your motion still stand, Bob?
I seconded it. It wasn't my motion. Is that right?
Yeah, well,
It doesn't matter. I thought I seconded it, but
Okay.
I can make the motion and you can second it.
All right, sorry about that. I lost track of who's on first.
So I believe you did, Bob.
Okay, yes, it stands.
So we have a motion to keep it at the 25%. And then for retirees, 35% for 2021 and 50% for 22 and beyond. And we have a second. I'm going to take a vote now. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
In terms of discussion, I would just add, I would love to not be involved in health insurance at all, but we are.
I concur. I'm a single payer guy. This is agony for me.
The next resolution is policy for town-sponsored health insurance for eligible elected officials. By resolution, the only two eligible elected officials are the town clerk position and the town highway superintendent position. Whereas the town board of the town of Canton has caused a comprehensive review of previously adopted town resolutions policies as they relate to town provided health insurance while in office and in retirement for duly elected officials of the town. And whereas said review has prompted the town board to clarify, amend, restate, newly adopt a town policy as it relates to elected officials regarding entitlement to health insurance while in office and who retire directly from town service. Now therefore be it resolved as follows, that the only elected officials of the town of Canton who are eligible for health insurance while in office and in retirement are two full-time elected officials, namely the town clerk and the town highway superintendent. That while in office, the town clerk may obtain town-sponsored health insurance consistent with the non-contract policy language, provided they contribute 25% of the premium for the coverage chosen, which amount can be amended by resolution of the board. Number 3, that while in office, the town highway superintendent may obtain town-sponsored health insurance consistent with the CSEA labor contract, provided the superintendent contributes the same percentage of the premium as required of employees under the contract for the coverage chosen, which amount can be amended by resolution of the town board. That in order for retirees in either of these positions to be eligible for town-sponsored health insurance in retirement, they must begin receiving a retirement benefit for state and local retirement system immediately upon cessation of their service from the town of Canton. The said retiree must meet the following criteria: be at least 55 years of age on their last day of service to the town. B, have rendered at least 20 years of full-time service to the town, either as an employee or as an elected official in the office of the town clerk and or town highway superintendent. Be it further resolved that retired elected officials who meet the foregoing criteria will be eligible for town premium contributions in the amount of 50% of town-sponsored health insurance selected by said retiree. The town board reserves the right to annually modify and or revise its policies concerning health insurance, including the right to require a higher employee contributions and or terminate such insurance. And be it further resolved that upon said retiree attaining the age of 65, Medicare shall become the primary health insurance for said retiree, and the town may provide an option for a Medicare supplemental plan with a premium contribution by the town of 50%, which amount can be amended by resolution of the town board.
Again, Marianne, I think that needs to mirror the initial resolution.
Mhm.
And I would also suggest adding in the last paragraph that mentions retirees, that we clarify that by saying eligible. Or eligible elected officials, I'm sorry.
So just to be clear here, we're amending the supplemental insurance. The other part about prior to 65 is going to remain at 50%. Is that accurate?
I'm not sure what you mean, Tim.
Yeah, say that again.
So the second to last paragraph refers to elected officials being eligible to maintain the health insurance in the amount of 50%. And then the last paragraph references the Medicare supplemental upon reaching the age of 65. We are leaving it at 50% for full insurance, changing it to the 35% only for the supplemental. Is that correct? According to the amendment that you're suggesting, Bob? You're muted.
You're still on mute, Bob, just so you know.
Sorry, I'm not sure if I understand your question, but I guess I'd say if they're currently still employed as an elected official, the clerk would be at 25% or otherwise mirror the non-contractual policy. And but the highway superintendent would follow whatever the contract says while they're working. So it wouldn't be 50% while working for the clerk. It would be 25 in this case, right?
Yeah, the second to last paragraph is in retirement, but prior to reaching age 65.
Okay.
Prior to Medicare. So it'd be my understanding that in retirement, that in 2021, the rate would be 35%, and in 2022, the rate would be 50%.
Right.
Yes.
Regardless of whether it's Medicare or what it is. They are.
And we do need to be careful because this resolution, the other resolutions refer to the contribution of the employee. This resolution refers to the contribution of the town. So it's kind of inverted. So if our intention is for the employee to pay 35%, then this needs to read 65 in this language.
Correct,
It's referencing the opposite side.
right. 65 and 50 going forward.
For the town, you mean, Bob?
Correct. Is there a reason why we
Yeah, I don't, but
reverse the focus in the language?
I just made it confusing.
Yes, it did. With this resolution, I'm wondering, I think we need to, I would recommend that we table it until we get the language to where everybody is comfortable, and then bring it back at our next meeting.
I would agree
That
with that.
affects the January 1 open and, or the new policy
We're-
contributions.
We'll have a year-end meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I rescind my motion. Or did
Okay.
I have to make a motion? Sorry.
All right, so we're gonna table this because of the language and the questions.
Good catch, Tim.
We just want to make sure we have that meeting soon enough so the providers have time to implement changes.
Okay. All right, shall we get back to the regular agenda? Supervisor report. John?
Yeah, you should all have the reports, excuse me, that were previously sent to you. And if we start at page 1, it's a summary of the fund balances to date. And this report covers 11 months of our fiscal year. So in general fund A, we are under budget in revenue by $127,000, but we're also under budget in expenses by $101,000. The bottom line is we have a deficit for 11 months of $25,483. Town outside, Fund B, we're 13,000 under budget in revenue, $189,000 under budget in expenses. So we have a surplus to date of $175,800. No activity in our bag, no activity in special revenue fund. Townwide highway, we're $3,600 over budget in revenue, and we're $9,500 over budget in expense. So as a result of that, we have a surplus to date of $13,000. Part-town highway DB, revenue is over budget by $308,000. Expenditures are also over budget by $168,000. And as a result, we have a surplus for 11 months of $276,000. Special fire, we have income and expenses that are equal, so no change in the fund balance at this point. Special lighting, likewise, we have a $562 surplus. So for the whole town, we're under budget in revenue by $19,500, but we're also under budget in expenses by $460,000. So we have a surplus compared to budget of $440,617. And we have 1 month left to go in our fiscal year. I won't go through a lot of detail, but I would like to highlight some of the areas in Fund A, especially where we're under budget. Justice fees were $78,000 under budget. Franchise tax, now I'm on the revenue side. Franchise tax were $13,000 under budget. Pilots were $19,000 under budget. State revenue sharing, $19,000 under budget. Mortgage tax, $44,000 under budget. So those are the numbers that make up our under budget number on the revenue side of $127,000. If you look at expenses, you can see that we have mostly pluses. In other words, we're under budget in most areas. Some of the larger ones would be the contractual expense for the attorney. We're under budget $13,000 there. Lease purchase contract under special items, we're under budget by $15,800. The Chamber of Commerce, we're under budget by $5,500. Transportation highway garage, we're under budget by $13,000. And hospital medical insurance, under employee benefits, we're under budget by 14,300. So those numbers make up the under budget and expense of $101,000. On the next fund, we have, get to the right page here, we're in fund outside, B, town outside. As I mentioned, we're under budget and revenue by 13,000. Most of that comes from code and assessor lines. On the expense side, again, a lot of different lines make up the under budget. The big one is Parks and Recreation. We're under budget by $99,000. So all in all, for that fund, I'm sorry, also on the contingency account, we're under budget by $71,000. So all in all, in Fund B, we're $189,000 under budget for expenditures. On the DA townwide account, we're actually over budget on the revenue side by $3,600. And for expenses, we're over budget by $9,000. The biggest one there being snow removal for $34,000 over budget in snow removal. And highway brush and weed for contractual expense, we're over budget by $13,000. But because we're over budget in revenue, we do have a surplus in that fund to date of $13,000. DB part-town highway, we're $108,000 over in revenue. $73,000 of that is from county sales tax distributions. We're $73,000 over budget. Chips, we're under budget by $44,000. Into the expense side again, it's a lot of smaller numbers. And you can see that in total, the expenses are under budget by $168,000. So we have a surplus of $276,000. Special fire is just a wash. We have revenue equal to expenses, so there'll be no change in the fund balance there. Same thing with special lighting. We have a $562 surplus there. In joint activity, we've had no activity except 77 cents of interest, I believe it is. And then the last page of the report shows the cash balances currently compared to last month and compared to the same month last year. You can see general fund cash, we have $187,000. That's $10,000 less than this time last year. Outside B fund, we're $289,000 in cash. We were at $312,000 last year. The RBAG cash is up $5,000 from where it was at this time last year. Cemetery fund hasn't changed. DA and DB fund cash, we're at $694,000. We were at $217,000 last year. Special fire and special lighting, almost the same cash balance as this time last year. Likewise with the revolving loan fund. The joint activity fund, we have $8,400. We had $14,500 last year. In trust and agency, we have $39,000 compared to almost $70,000 last year. So total cash in all accounts as of November 30th is $1,362,000 compared to about $960,000 at this time last year. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Let's go back to A. I take it on the 19,000 short on revenue sharing. We must have got that check, and the state took their cut out of it. You mentioned we were 44,000 short on mortgage tax. Have we got both of the mortgage tax checks from the county this year, or have we just got the one? Is there one still out there that hasn't come in?
I don't know the answer to that. Would you know, Marianne?
We usually get 2 a year, one, I believe one in June, one in December. Has that second one come?
I believe so. I would have to check.
Gotten it yet.
Oh, Susan Huntley is on the line here. Susan?
Yeah, we haven't gotten the second mortgage tax yet.
Okay.
It looks like we have 22,000 recorded out of 66 budgeted, so less than 1/3, I would hope We haven't got both checks yet.
Even
And
if
the biggest,
even if the second one comes in the same as the first, we're still going to be significantly under budget.
Sometimes I think the first one is an estimate and the second one is more a reflection of
Actual.
the mortgage set for the year.
And I'm not sure why the pilots are under budget by $19,200. We've only collected $799 there.
we usually get that in December.
Okay.
Did the community bank pilot expire?
It expired, and then they were interested in coming back to us at the beginning of this year, and they never came back to us to extend the pilot.
So is that the difference?
It may be. Bob, I'd have to look that up.
The Russian Place pilot expired as well. That wasn't a lot of money though.
So that would just mean that they've gone now onto the tax roll.
Exactly. So instead of being a pilot, it's property taxes.
Our taxable assessed valuation should have gone up to reflect that, and we just aren't going to see it in the pilot. We're going to see it as actual tax.
And our biggest loss is in the justice fees.
Yes.
And that's because of the COVID and the shutdown. Okay, any other questions on that? As far as the Parks and Recreation, that is in the bills for this month, the 99. Well, actually, it's not 99,000, but there is a reimbursement of 66,000, I believe, and then we have to put in another.
So
they will bill us again for the remainder after December into next year. So, yeah. Okay, any other questions on this? And we will be billing the village for the 50% cost for our 3 departments that we share, as well as the agreement with the court, between the court and the town and the village, to pay for court for about $800. Any other questions on the report?
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Thanks, John. Correspondence. We have 3 correspondence. The first one is from North Country this week. They had sent Lisa and I a packet indicating that that they can now do legal notices, and they would like us to consider them to be one of the official newspapers moving forward. We do have the Watertown Times, and they were interested in us having a second official, having them as a second official paper. So we can consider that at our January organizational meeting. The second correspondence is from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. We got notice of violation, failure to register POS for the SPART. POSS stands for a publicly owned sewer system. And what the New York State DEC is saying is that we never registered our publicly owned sewer system. So when I've been working on this as far as making calls to the DEC, speaking with our code enforcement officer, speaking with the wastewater treatment employees about this. And when I had called the DEC, I told them we do not operate a publicly owned sewer system. And what's concerning about this letter is failure to register is a violation of NYCRR 750 at a rate of $37,500 per day. So that drew my attention, and that's why I've been working on this. I spoke to the person right when I got this, Holly, at the DEC, and told her that we do not have a publicly owned sewer system, and I'm not sure where this came from. She said this is a result of the New York State DEC being audited by the Comptroller's Office. There was discrepancies in this program of the registration of every New York State publicly owned sewer system. So still working on that. We will need to send an official letter back. I did talk to Jim Smith about this too, if he knew of anything in the past. Out by the Pizza Hut, there was a small sewer system that the town did own at one time, but then there was the annexation into the village. So we need to address that. And I'd like to work with Eric on crafting a letter back to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Is there any questions on that?
Just because my name got mentioned, what for a number of years, the town operated a sewer district. And basically what that was, that there was a number of businesses and homes that were in the town of Canton that were not in the village, and they were on village water and sewer, and they paid at a rate of 3 times what people in the village paid. And for a number of years, we tried to basically get away from that, but the only way that could happen was through annexation. And it was a section of homes from Stiles Avenue, where the town barn is, all the way out Route 11 to 310. It included the Pizza Hut and the car wash. But over the years, that all of that area has been annexed, and because of that, that sewer district has gone away. But that's the only thing that I can remember in terms of anything being sewage and the town being associated together.
And there's an actual registration number, but Holly couldn't really let me know more details on that. So Eric, I'd like to work with you on crafting a letter to respond to this.
Yeah, that's fine, Mary Ann. If you would send me a copy of the initial letter, just so I've got it for the file, it'd be great.
Okay.
It seems to me this can be pretty short. We can tell the DEC the town does not operate a sewer system. And if they want to spend more time chasing us on it, they're welcome to. But this should be a pretty short conversation. And
Well,
hopefully it's not going to eat up a lot of our time or Eric's time dealing with it.
But that registration number is what's tagged us. And so they need to, I want an official letter from legal to address that.
That's fine. It's the DEC's problem. If they bill us, we're not going to pay it. And if they sue us, I'm confident we can convince them that we don't operate a sewer system.
Yep. Okay. The third correspondence, the board did get it. It is from the Carol Spadazzini, the president of the board of directors for the Canton Chamber of Commerce. They did respond to our request from the last meeting for more financial information regarding the Chamber of Commerce. So that's the third one. Okay, audit committee. That's Tim and Bob.
Lisa, are you ready?
I'm ready, Bob.
All right, I did previously email these to the board and Lisa. Okay, the A account, $33,545.49. B account, $89,926.31. DA, $5,438.59. DB, $8,424.57. No activity in special fire. Special lighting, $336.14. Trust and agency, $16,656.38.
Got it.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about the expenditures?
I just have a couple, I guess, comments and or questions. In the A account, for dog control, there was no invoice attached to the voucher. Again, I just want to make that part of the record that we're still not receiving invoices. And there was a voucher in there for stamps, I guess, to pay it forward, looking for authorization to spend the money. It'd be good if that was a note on the voucher so that we knew that not to look for a receipt, that it's a pay it forward. And then lastly, let's see, the funding for the Oswegatchie Waterfront Revitalization Plan has been charged to B. And in my opinion, I think that should be charged to the A account. That should be town-wide for that project, and not charged to only the town outside. And you guys can check me on that, but I'm just curious what other folks thought.
Well, Susan and I have been looking at that today, and our grants have. We just got interrupted by our grants have been through the B account for many years. We are researching it though, Bob, and we'll be making a call to the comptroller's office regarding that and you know where it should technically go.
I guess my comment is, I think, you know, if it, like for instance, the latest grant, we are putting it in the B account, but we have a memorandum of understanding with the village about paying their portion. So we're getting contributions so that it just doesn't fall on the shoulders of town outside. But a grant that is town-wide, that we're the sole.
Excuse me, Bob, excuse me. I'm going to interrupt you because we do have an inappropriate, person on the line now. And I'm going to ask that our moderator block them. It appears we're having some problems.
And there's two other people, right, co-hosting with me.
So I'm going to ask, is it Carol?
Yep, looks like it's gone. There's an Oliver O'Brien still on there and a Palmer.
Okay, can you please take them off?
18 naked cowboys in the showers at Ram Ranch. Big haired throbbing cocks wanting to be sucked.
I don't know if you can.
18 naked cowboys wanted to be.
You can remove them.
Okay. This is fun. Anybody else left on there?
We never asked the phone number to identify themselves at the beginning too, just as a side note.
It was a whole bunch of individual names that came in. I think we've got them. I was keeping my eye on that back page for a while and then stopped. I think we're good.
But if they have a name, we're typically let them in, correct?
Yeah, but I was keeping my eye on because I didn't recognize any of them.
Right.
I'll keep my eye back there.
There looks to still be two.
Yes. I see one.
I see a phone number is all I see.
Hannon?
That's Debbie Hannon from Ogdensburg.
Okay.
And who is the phone number?
I'm not sure who the phone number is.
I'm going to ask the phone number 315-528-2730. Please identify yourself.
I'm asking them to unmute and they're not unmuting.
We also, somehow in all of that, Tim got removed and now he can't get back in.
Okay, so the,
Karen, do you know how to let him back in? Can we do that?
I don't see him there, you know.
Hi, who's that? Who's the phone number?
They didn't answer.
Leanna.
Who is it?
That, hold
Leanna.
on, she's speaking. It's Leanna.
Leanna,
Moquin.
Thank you.
I think if we've accidentally hit remove on Tim, I don't think he can go back into the waiting room. He might need to re-enter by phone.
I'll tell him that.
Or if he has another device that's not recognized by the waiting room.
can he sign back in?
He's no, if you remove him, and I think one of us, I mean, it got a little hairy there for a minute. And I think one of us must have removed him by accident.
Very inappropriate.
Well, it happens.
It probably wasn't a real person. It probably was some sort of electronic bomber.
Okay, so we have Leanna's name
Yeah.
now showing.
Yeah, everybody else is identified. The only thing is we don't have Tim.
Does somebody want to text him and just?
I already did.
Oh, thank you. Thank
I did as well, Mary, and I think he's gonna be trying to call you if you can't get in.
you. Okay.
Just give it a minute.
My heart's still racing, just so you know.
Thank you, ladies, for addressing that so quickly.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah.
Back in.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Tim.
Oh, oh boy.
Got a little hairy there for a minute. Sorry.
Oh, you're muted, Tim.
You gotta unmute yourself, Tim.
Well, now I'm on the phone, so
Oh, okay.
who kicked me out?
There
Well,
were a few Zoom bombers and everybody was trying to react quickly and
It wasn't on purpose. We don't know who did it.
It was
It
a
was
royal.
Carol, or if it was I, but we apologize. We were trying to get rid of some inappropriate cartoons.
Yeah, we'll carry on. Okay.
So just quickly, I think my understanding of it, Mary Ann, would be, or board, that if it's a grant that we're partnering with other communities and they're going to reimburse us in some way, that I think the B account is fine. But if it's a grant that's not being reimbursed or cost shared with other municipalities, that it should be run through A. So I would say not all grants are created equal, and depending upon how they're rolled out and how they're supported by other partners will determine what account they would go in. That's
Okay.
all.
I would agree with Bob, but I don't think there's any question where this one should be an A, because this is a townwide thing. This one,
okay.
Have we made
Well,
previous payments on this grant? Out of,
are we talking about the Oswegatchie River Plan?
I don't know
Yes.
what we're talking about. I just got.
Yes.
The Oswegatchie River Plan is 24,000 and it's a full reimbursement. So there are no MOUs with the partners in that grant.
Even so, I would say then it should be fronted by town-wide as opposed to town outside.
So we'll have to look at the books and how to do that. And then go from there. Because we're pretty much, we're in the thick of it. And, you know, I know Lee is on as well. And I'm trying to think of the timeline. You know, Mayor Hammond's here as well. You know, we've been going full force with that. So we'll look at it and just see how we have to adjust that.
That's all I'm asking.
Okay. Okay, so I need approval for the expenditures. I need a motion for approval of expenditures.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Carried. Okay, department reports. All right, let's, Lee, why don't we start with you? Can you hear us? You want to give us a few highlights, please?
Sure. Highlights. I guess one of the biggest things is that since the last meeting, there has been announced another round of the New York Main Street grant, which really is most relevant to the village, but we've decided to move forward with another application to that program. We had an application and carried out a grant that was awarded in 2016, and we're able to renovate, help owners to renovate 7 buildings downtown, in the downtown area. So I have several property owners that have already asked that they be put on a list if we do it again. So this is usually part of the CFA round, Consolidated Funding Application round, which is normally in July. They didn't do that in 2020. So this agency has released the request for proposals or request for applications on their own. So applications are due in January 15th. So the village will be applying for funds, and I just wanted to ask now with the board that we will be asking the town to do a letter of support for that. I know, Marianne, you like to have the approval of the board to do that, so I just wanted to bring that up and make note of it. That's the biggest thing. Dairy Queen is wrapping up. They have submitted all the documentation for their portion of it. We have to hold a second public hearing, and then we can close out that grant. We have submitted everything for the oldest waterfront grant that we have. So hopefully we'll be seeing some reimbursement on that soon. That was for the Grass River Blueway Trail, the Priorities Boat Launch, and the Trails Plan, Master Trail Plan. As Mary mentioned, the Oswegatchie Plan, or how it was earlier mentioned, the Oswegatchie Blueway Trail Plan is moving along. That is scheduled to be completed no later than June of 2021. Right now we have a draft boundary on it where they're doing an inventory and analysis. We have also started work on with that same grant, the marketing plan for the Grass River Blueway. So we've got a committee together and we're working on that. As I said, it wraps up by June of 2021. So they'll be doing some public meetings and things in, I think it was February we scheduled it for, wasn't it, Marianne? But we'll be getting that publicized so everyone can share and help spread the word about that. I think last meeting we talked about the newest waterfront grant that involves the Minor Street project and the Willow Island project. We have now 4.5 years to implement that. So we can move forward on that at any time. Now we have a signed contract, so we can start thinking about how we're going to proceed on that. Working on marketing Shop Small, not only Shop Small Saturday, but Shop Small Season, and helping to promote our local businesses. We're going to be hopefully launching a new website shortly and updating a directory of businesses in the community and promoting them and doing short videos and things like that of local businesses. And I don't think I put on the report, but I wanted to point out here too that St. Lawrence County Chamber, in partnership with Anchor Space, which is the co-working space in Potsdam, are putting on a QVC-like channel on Sunday, but it's called, instead of the QVC shopping channel, it's called the St. Lawrence County Shopping Channel. So businesses are going to be highlighted. It's going to be live on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. So it's another opportunity for people to learn about local businesses and support them during this season. I think
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
We have a lot going on. I want to point out too, Marion, that you had, I think last meeting mentioned the Canton Community Action Plan.
Yes.
And that is on the radar of the Economic Development Steering Committee. And it's getting pushed back a little because the Main Street grant popped up. I had intended to work on it this month and next and have it ready early in the spring. But now my focus, at least through mid-January, is going to be on getting this Main Street grant application done. And as a reminder for the Main Street grant application, it reimburses property owners 75% of costs for renovating buildings. So it's a very, very good program to help our property owners engage with. And this round, they're also allowing, typically with renovation projects, you can ask for some streetscape funds. Last time we did some bike racks and recycling bins because there's a limited budget. You can ask for up to 15,000 normally. But now through this one, you can ask for 60,000 because of COVID. If you can demonstrate, or if you're doing projects that are addressing COVID issues, and we're thinking about things like maybe trying to make the alley usable with some seating and lighting and things like that, and make a space where people can sit outside because indoor dining space is limited and that kind of thing. So we're trying to think creatively about that. The Brownfield Opportunity Area Consultants, that's something that they had been sort of working on with us anyway as part of that plan. So that helps. There's also in the past been some work done about historic markers. They're also looking for projects that engage history and culture and local artists. So there's also been some work done in the past on some historical markers and things like that in the downtown area too. So we're going to be looking at those kinds of things. So I think that's all I can add now. If anyone has questions, please feel free.
Okay. Board members, any questions of Lee? All right. Thank you so much, Lee. Judge Morgan, you still with us?
I am.
Okay. Hi.
Hi. I wanted to first start off and mention about the court income. I mean, other than the court being shut down for 5 months, we still have an issue where and I think the board and the public need to be made aware of the governor still has put protocols in place where if someone doesn't pay their fine, the court has no recourse. Before, we could suspend driver's licenses and we could maybe issue a warrant for somebody that doesn't show up. But right now, it's kind of hard to collect fines when there's no recourse after the fine is assessed by the court. So that is a problem. And I've mentioned to the Judicial Committee that, in my opinion, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and maybe the town boards collectively need to petition the governor's office and say, look, this needs to stop. I mean, I can't believe that only the town of Canton is having financial issues. I got to believe it's statewide. So why aren't the town and village associations speaking up to this? I got to believe that the courts are probably, besides taxes, the court is one of the biggest generators of funds to the towns and villages. So I would encourage the board to do that. And I did talk to Tim and Jim about that at the meeting, and I'm going to meet with them at some point on that too. As of yesterday, the court has gone virtual to lessen the foot traffic into the municipal building. This is by order of the chief judge for the all of New York State. And except for certain special hearings, all court matters will be done virtually through Microsoft Teams application. That's going to present some issues that we're not quite sure how we're going to address yet. Obviously, that there are people that come to court that don't have a computer, maybe don't have a smartphone where they can log on. So, they're going to have to work through their attorney, and we're going to have to schedule appointments virtually to keep the court going. So it's a work in progress. I wish I could give you more information than that, but right now I just don't have it. Hopefully we're going to be holding court virtually this coming week on the 16th, and we'll see how that goes then. One of the things that we do recognize that we're going to need, and we wanted to make the board aware of it and maybe submit a possible voucher, is we need 2 cameras that would hook into the desktops upstairs in the for the clerks, and that would be a cost of about $30 on Amazon. Mark has some information on some really good cameras that would work for that application, and so we would ask that, outside of our normal budget, that we would be able to purchase a couple cameras for that purpose. The other expense that I can see coming is this is going to generate a lot more paper as far as envelopes and stamps and regular paper. And so that's going to be an additional cost. You might send a person 3 or 4 different notices of their court date. And if they get moved to a different court date, then it just keeps snowballing. And you have to let them know every month when their court date is or where they are in the court system. So I can see where that's going to be a problem down the road. That's going to be an expense coming. Lastly, I was going to talk to you tonight about court security and finding a way if we could keep our second court security officer coming after the first of the year, because it wasn't budgeted. But with a new development with the virtual, court security is not needed right now. So maybe if we get back to in-person appearances in January, we can address that then, trying to get at least midsummer or something. And it was going to be a cost of about $2,400 to do that for 6 months. But again, I guess at this point, it's really not needed until we get back to in-person court appearances. Anybody have any questions?
I do. Thank you, Mike. Has there been any discussion about or request of perhaps the county dedicating a conference room for virtual, virtual representation, that it could be, they could serve as an access point for defendants for all the courts in St. Lawrence County. And then that way there's already security in the building, there's already internet, and they could just step up and help in a way.
They've been doing that in family court actually since COVID started. They've been almost all virtual in family court. I don't know if the county has a spot for that or not. And I know I spoke with the assistant district attorney and I spoke with public defender's office about doing something. And so people are floating ideas. Like I said, this just came down yesterday.
It seems like much of the infrastructure is already in place there, and even the support. So
agreed.
It seems like a perfect opportunity.
Agreed. And I think that would work out good if we could figure something out with the county.
The one question I have, Judge, is I think it would be good for the town to pass a resolution about, the current situation and how things need to change. Is there some type of resolution that you could forward to us as far as language, or, I'd be glad to work with you as far as putting one together to express our concern.
Yeah, I could certainly sit down with you and we could discuss it, but I don't think that I could sign on to anything.
No, I'm just, framing a resolution.
I'm not sure that would be appropriate, honestly.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I don't think.
So we should go to our associations and yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I would recommend, Mary Ann, that you contact the Association of Towns.
Yeah.
And every town in the state has got to have the same issue.
Yep.
And find out from the Association of Towns if there's any way that they're addressing this. And if they're not addressing it, you know, we pay dues, why aren't they? And they may have some suggestion for you as to a type of resolution, or, you know, maybe it needs to be more than the town of Canton.
Yeah.
Trying to address this any other way than with the cooperation of all the towns and villages in the state, I think would be a waste of our time. So if you contact the Association of Towns, and I'm sure you're not going to be the first one that's called.
And I guess I would just add, I would be, as a board member, I would want to be careful that how we're framing this, because courts aren't supposed to be revenue generating. We're hopeful that we can cover our expenses, our budgeted expenses, but like recreation or other, they're not supposed to make money. They're a service to the community. And so I get that we're taking a major hit in the budget, but I would just be careful of the language, because the courts aren't meant to be used as a revenue generator. That could get out of hand pretty quick.
And the Association of Towns annual meeting is in February, and I haven't seen the resolutions that they're looking to pass at this time, but I will certainly contact them. And we'll go from there.
Oops.
Hey, thank
Sorry.
you, Justice. Appreciate it.
Linda, you have a question? Oh, okay. You're
Okay.
welcome.
I'm gonna go to Jeff. Jeff, are you upstairs in the building?
Yes, I am.
Okay. You want to give us some of your highlights, please?
I guess the biggest highlight of this month has been learning to deal with commercial solar projects, because we seem to have a lot of land that is of interest to these developers, and this is a whole new game for me. And how do I answer questions and get the right information to the planning boards? And this is a big learning curve for me. So I think that's my biggest thing this month. And of course, the usual garbage complaints and trying to clean up some of the dilapidated buildings in our town always keeps me busy when I do have time. But I think the commercial solar thing is the biggest thing that I'm dealing with right now. Other than that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Well, the solar is an issue, you know, that's coming to our town, and, you know, process and communication is critical. You know, we do have a solar committee of the board, Bob Washoe and Jim Smith. You know, but as far as communicating, if you could just, you know, let the board know, you and I spoke about that already, you know, anytime you're contacted, because there's a lot of moving parts, just send a quick email to the board about it.
Absolutely.
And
I'd like to add that the solar committee of Jim Smith and Bob Washoe isn't enough. This is something that's going to overwhelm us, and we've got to take a serious look at something, something, you know, some way of dealing with this other than relying on a couple part-time town board members. And we're trying to educate ourselves as well as we can. I mean, no question, Bob's spent a tremendous amount of time on this. I mean, and Eric has too. But I'm not going to speak for you, Bob, but I'm going to speak for myself. I'm saying I'm very close to being in over my head. And the way Jeff's nodding, that could be the case even with our code enforcement officer. So I think this is an issue that we've got to take a real serious look at.
And I think Jim's right on that. I think we have to maybe get in touch with somebody that is used to dealing with these developers and the size of these things, because apparently they're coming here and they're looking for land, and I think it's just going to get more and more intense, and the more we can figure out how to deal with them. I think you're right. I think us as locals, we're just overwhelmed with this because they're so far ahead of us in how to do these that I don't think we're capable of dealing with them adequately right now.
I concur completely, and even just stepping back from it internally, the left hand knowing what the right hand is doing, and internal processes is, are where we need to start. But I mean, by default, I've been anointed as the one who basically keeps an eye on all these moving parts and tries to make sure that there's good communication amongst everyone. And it's clear to me that we're already in over our head on multiple levels. And that's not to take away from Jeff, myself, or Jim, Eric, the planning board. Everybody's learning. And as soon as I was hoping we were going to talk about this later, but while we're on it, the ORS, Office of Renewable Energy and Siting comment period has just ended. So that was the last pretty significant deadline before New York's the law is going to change in a way that's going to expedite these projects. And even with the projects dribbling in right now, it's clear to me we have way too many deficiencies to handle it, let alone once ORS is passed and they all really start coming our way. So it's not a discussion for right now, but we have a lot to discuss. Sorry.
Bob's absolutely right. Because I'll admit I'm in over my head because I don't understand a lot of this, and the state's just going to make it easier for them. So like I said, I'm hoping that there's going to be guidance from above me on how to deal with this stuff.
And I think as part of our code and zoning update, where we're starting with that is in process. When a project is presented to Jeff, what is the proper path that information for that project needs to take? What is the timeline between when that information is received and when an initial meeting is set up, so everybody has time to digest the information? One of the things that comes up is hiring a potential engineer and having them on retainer, so that the first thing that happens with a project when it comes to Jeff is that it goes to a professional engineer to offer their guidance, and then it gets forwarded to the planning board. And that, just like an attorney, that engineer on retainer would be there through the whole process to make sure all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed.
I think that's a very good idea, Bob.
We have a ways to go to get there, but I think that's where this is headed. And I think as a board, we need to be prepared for that to happen.
Bob, I've got some folks that I work with on the larger wind projects who I know would be happy to assist the town. I'll get you some names of some folks you can talk to for that type of referral. Jeff, the other thing I would ask is that, one of the steps when one of these projects comes in is to let me know right away, sooner rather than later, so we can start the analysis of what the plan is, comparing it with the local law. And knowing right off the bat what it is that we're dealing with would be helpful from my perspective.
Well, what I think I'll do from now on is as soon as one of them emails me, I'll just forward that email to Eric and the board members, and I'll let you guys guide me. I'll take all the help I can get on this situation.
Perfect.
Okay.
And because I agree with Eric. There's clocks that start ticking once we get notified, and that's not necessarily in your wheelhouse, but it's something that others that have to keep an eye on. And so I think the left hand knowing what the right hand is doing is extremely important in this situation.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Let's see Lisa, do you want to pipe in now?
Sure, I'll pipe in. Bob, was this what you were looking for from Jim Pfeiffer, his written report that was put in the box? Or
oh, you got to unmute yourself, Bob.
No, I saw his report. What I was referring to was an invoice.
Okay, I didn't see that, so I can reach out to Jim tomorrow about that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So my office, of course, is December, last week of muzzleloader here, so the foot traffic has lessened a little bit. Busy with everything else that we do in here. Working on tying up the ends for the year end, getting ready to get into 2021. Tax collections right around the corner. Even though I didn't get the help that I wanted when my deputy was on leave, I've been handling it with ease. And I want to congratulate Calvin. I wasn't attending the meeting that he was appointed to finish Terry Billings' term. So for the record, I just wanted to say that's successful planning on their part. So you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Lisa? Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Why don't we go with Linda Casserly? Are you outside on your porch?
I'm up in Mariah's house in the Adirondacks.
Oh.
That's not totally done, but there's stuff, they're all downstairs waiting for me to finish. So I'm going to be signing off after this.
Okay, a few updates.
Any questions on my report first? On that email between this guy, Lauren Stiles, and Connie Molnar and I could have given you 8 pages of that email. He has provided so much information. He grew up in Canton, and he is doing a book on all the houses and buildings he remembers. It was a joy to work with this man and with Connie. And then the part on my email on the marker, since there's no new news, I hear that is good news because they asked for 5 more documents or primaries, and I had them all ready. So that went well. And Rachel and I are thinking of doing another calendar on 1980 because I have all the plain dealers from 1980 to 1989. I haven't done one in 1 year at least, or 2, but we're missing that. And then the village walking tour has to be completed. That Tracy Robertson and the Silas Wright House is going to help me with that. So if there's no more questions, I want to go join my daughter who will be going back to her home in Canada in 3 days. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? Thank you, Linda.
I do have to say one thing. In Lisa and my terms together for 31 years, we had nicknames. So I'm going to say good night, Ethel.
Good night, Lucy.
We have to have a laugh sometimes, you know. Thanks for everything, Lisa.
Thank you, Linda.
All right.
I'm gonna hang up, okay?
Okay, good night, Linda.
Because I want to keep my composure. I lost it in the first part.
Okay,
So
yeah.
bye.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Good night.
All right.
Good night.
Thank you. Okay. Let me see. Calvin wasn't able to be. Am I missing anyone? Any other departments? I don't think so. Okay. So I need a motion to accept department reports.
Motion.
Motion by Bob. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Karen. All in favor, say aye.
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 Carry. Okay, committee reports.
Okay, Highway Committee. Lehman Anson started and to fill Calvin's spot. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So that the first hire went well. The ad was successful. There were like 30 applicants, I believe. We interviewed 3. And Calvin has asked us, and Jim and I agree, if the board is in approval, that the second person we would need to be hiring to replace Joe at the end of the year. We are curious if they became available, would they be able to be offered the job by mid-December in order to have full crew, given the fact that we're in the middle of December, and it's just a matter of when the snow comes, not if. So I don't know if you want to discuss that now or put it on the agenda for later about to consider hiring 2 weeks early.
We have 2 other items to add to the agenda. I prefer to add it later.
Okay. And then also highway, the part highway, part complete streets. The trees at Fairview Cemetery, the largest mature topped out trees will be start to come down tomorrow. That's part of the minor street improvements. Fairview Cemetery, it's much to their delight that the trees are coming down. They've been hoping to get them down for a couple of years now. So that Putney Tree Service is going to drop them the town crew is going to take them from there and clean them up. So that's good positive news there. And I guess that's it for highway, unless Jim has something to add.
Can't think of anything.
And then I guess I'll roll into solar. As I mentioned, the ORS comment period is over, and the ORS citing law is going to replace Article 10, which is going to expedite energy projects across the state, including right here in Canton. And the St. Lawrence County Planning Office offered very good comments, as did the Farmland Protection Board, and actually Canton resident and former planner Richard Grover offered 8 pages of notes, and Jim and I read them, and they're pretty much spot on as far as we could tell. So there'll be more news coming on that. And one other item related to solar, it's really energy law. ORS is not only going to affect potential solar development, it's going to rekindle even wind across New York State. And we don't have any sort of commercial or utility scale wind language in our local zoning or code. And so it's our suggestion that we get with Eric and the planning board and the St. Lawrence County Planning Office and come up with some language and adopt a wind law for the town of Canton, a utility wind law for Canton as well. We've been primarily focused on solar because those are the projects before us. But our guess is that all the developers are just sitting in waiting for ORS to finally move through its processes, and then everything's going to gear right up. So we're not prepared for, we say we're not prepared for solar. We're prepared for solar more than we are for wind. So we need to get ready.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Other committee reports?
I have a question for Bob then to follow up. Should we be considering a wind moratorium like we did for solar while we were working on that?
It's a good question. I think we're going to be talking about later on in the agenda with Eric, and I was going to bring that up about how we wanted to handle it. I just wanted to mention it in the committee.
All right. Yep. Okay. We'll come up with it later. Committees on my side, Lee covered economic development pretty well. Justice Morgan covered justice. Recreation, in terms of the pavilion is operating. Our partners with Canton Minor Hockey and St. Lawrence Figure Skating are doing a good job with all the requirements we have on them for operating the building safely with their groups. So, and Canton Central School's been cooperative in terms of sharing information regarding situations with public health, and we're monitoring it on a near daily basis to see what situations are flowing into that. For our reimagining recreation, we had a really robust response from the community for eager participation in that. We'll be having a kickoff meeting with those people that signed up next week, just to kind of get some ideas percolating in people's heads over the holiday break, and then really trying to tackle it in earnest in January and February. Karen, I don't know if you wanted to add anything on those.
No, you covered that well. Thank you.
Okay. Any others? All right. Very good. Under old business, we do need to add an item, the Minor Street road grant MOU with the Village of Canton. But the first item is Canton Chamber 2020 funding. We have budgeted $5,500. There has been some discussion regarding chamber services, and it's been at the committee level. So now we need to revisit it. So would the committee like to just talk about this?
I'd like to consider the next item jointly with this, and would offer a motion to fund the Canton Chamber and the VFW
at the fully budgeted amount for calendar year 2020.
I do need to let you know that the VFW funding, we have a bill of what they've spent. It does not equal the budgeted amount, and that they didn't expend the other portion of that. So that is a separate, it is separate.
Thank you. Then okay, we can do it as separate motions then.
Okay.
Second.
I make a motion to fund the Canton Chamber of Commerce at the budgeted 2020 amount of $5,500.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Bob. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
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 Carried. Okay, so the VFW 2020 funding, they did present a bill of $2,311.70.
Motion to approve the expense.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further questions or concerns? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Okay. The board committee audit of the supervisor's office. That's Tim and Bob.
I'll start and Bob can chime in. We did this yesterday. Again, speaking on behalf of myself, I don't like the term audit on this, but it is, excuse me, a useful exercise that the comptroller's office provides these outline for an internal review of our systems within our departments. So things are in good shape. There's a couple areas where we can improve things on some record keeping in terms of property records. I wish I had the form in front of me now.
Let me tell you what it is.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so receivable control accounts. We talked about that we need to improve. The indebtedness records and property records.
Yes, those were the three areas where we can improve, which is some tricky things, just keeping track of who owes us money on a longer term and who we owe money to on a longer term.
Mm-hmm.
So, but things are in good shape. Bob, I don't know what you'd like to add.
Yeah, I thought it was very cooperative. We got everything that we asked for. We identified a couple areas in need of further attention, but based on previous experiences, it was very positive. Thank you.
And as far as the property records we talked about, I did get those from the assessor today. So
do we have a current up-to-date fixed assets inventory?
we have highway, we have technology, but we need to do a broader fixed assets inventory of all the departments.
We need as a board, I think we need to establish some sort of criteria, including or mainly what dollar value or how deep are we going to go into this? Typically they're set at things of value of $250 or $500 and above. But I think that's something that the board is going to need to establish what the criteria is for that inventory.
And, you know, for the 2019 AUD, we did include that language that was required that hadn't been provided before. So we're getting better with that, Jim, for sure.
Mary Ann, will you share that information from Cindy with the board?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's pretty telling. So, okay, so the one item that we do need to add under old business is the Minor Street Road bike / pedestrian trail and Willow Island, Canton Island Park enhancement memorandum of understanding. You have a copy of that in your packet. I worked with the village on this, and Eric also reviewed it. So I'm pretty satisfied with this MOU. We just need to have board approval, and then the village, I believe, will have it on their agenda at their next meeting as well.
I think it's fine. I think it should be identified as Minor Street Road. But quite honestly, I think that we should just refer to this grant as the waterfront revitalization grant and not make it so wordy. When when we discuss it, it's the waterfront grant, right?
Yes.
Okay. But I think it needs to say,
Canton grass, okay.
yeah, I think it needs to say Minor Street Road though, not Minor Street.
Yeah, at the top, we can amend
Yes.
that. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve this MOU.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Does it read that our approval of it is contingent upon the village's approval of it also? Oh,
It doesn't read that, but I think it's implied
okay, as long as it,
because, you know, Jerry worked on it and then we rolled it out with Eric and between the mayor and I.
okay,
Yeah, Jim, there is no MOU until the village agrees as well.
okay, all right, okay, so that, them having to agree also is the only thing that makes it a valid MOU, but, okay.
Right, once they agree, then the mayor and I will sign. So we do have a motion, we do have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Aye.
Okay, new business. Consider adopt ethics financial disclosure statement. Bob, you had asked that this be put on.
Yes, we haven't gotten to it yet. Carol and I met with both the village and town attorney to discuss getting the ethics board up and running. And before that really gets off the ground, we have to, both the village and town, adopt the disclosure form. And I would make a motion to adopt the form as is.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
My only comment is, you know, when we were going through the whole ethics law and creating this, I supported it then and I support it now. So, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay. Fire department contracts for 2021. I sent you all the contracts. We have four fire departments, and then we have an MOA with the Canton Fire Corporation for engine number 7 payment. Basically, the language is the same except the amount has increased. In 2020, our departments received 39,206, and it's going up to 45,000 for the 3 smaller departments, Morley, Pirates, and Rensselaer Falls. So that's a 5,795 increase in allocation for the smaller departments. The Canton Fire is the same as 2020, and that's 117,300. And then we have the annual payment of the fire engine number 7 of $6,000, for which we have an agreement with. So I just need a motion from the board that you approve these contracts as written. They were sent out, and pretty much the only thing that changed is the amount. We did, for the Canton Fire one, we did take out the language of the final payment of the Canton Fire Station because we're done paying that. So that was the only change. So what I'll do upon board approval is I'll send these to the 2 villages and to the fire departments for execution. And then once the warrant gets satisfied, we make payment. But we need their signature, and we also need copies of their liability insurance documents to come back to us as well.
Are the terms and conditions for dispersing this money the same as they were in 2020
Yes,
for all those departments?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And just like to point out that for the public that may be listening, that they are fairly significant increases to those three departments. But basically, as Mary Ann mentioned, we are no longer paying on the Canton Fire Station. So we are taking that amount of money and basically helping the other three departments by giving them this additional money. So don't, if you're thinking that your fire line is going to go up significantly when you get your tax bill, it's not.
And this is the third year that we keep increasing. So every little bit helps with our departments, and we appreciate everything they do.
Mary Ann? Oh, sorry.
I was going to make a motion to approve those contracts.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion or concern?
When are they done paying on the apparatus? Is it next year?
Engine number 7? No, that goes to year 2023. I think we're going to be owing another, after 2021, it's going to be a balance of 36,000. So it's $6,000 a year for that engine.
Does the
Sorry.
Bob.
No, go ahead.
Does the town plan to divide the funds once that apparatus is paid for again between the departments?
I can't answer that because it's so many years out, and it would be up to the whatever board to decide that.
Okay.
Might not be any of us on that board.
Right.
And
if you were on the call at the beginning, it's not going to be any of us.
And I just want to, just for a point of clarification for the public, I hear things like our departments. Technically, these are not our fire departments. These are 4 individual fire departments or municipalities that we have contracts with for fire coverage in the town. They're independent of the town. So I think when somebody hears they're ours, it sounds like they are our department, but they're not. They're an entity that we have a contract for services.
Thank you,
Did I say our, Bob? I didn't mean to if I did.
I'm sorry?
Did I say our departments? If I did, I didn't mean to.
No, I said the collective we because I didn't want to say Mary Ann. Sorry.
Hey, I'll take it. I did say our. It is the town, and we're all in this together. But okay, Bob, thanks for pointing that out. So there is a motion, there is a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, carried.
With gratitude to all the departments.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. They do a wonderful job. We appreciate them.
And they can use all the help they can get.
That's right.
Absolutely.
It's not getting any easier for sure. Okay, so Mayor Hammond, I see you're still on here. I'll be sending that to you as well as Mr. Denny. Okay, the next item is resolution urging the St. Lawrence County Legislature to contract with DANK for comprehensive broadband assessment. You all have the resolution. It's my understanding, Danny Fay did come in. They did pass that they would contract with DANK. We sent this prior to their meeting on Monday saying that we're looking to pass this resolution. The chairman did respond saying that they were going to move forward as well. But for the record, we need to pass this resolution and then we can forward the official copy.
Motion.
Is there a second? Oh, I'm sorry. Was that Jim?
Yes.
Okay. Any further questions or concerns?
No.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Okay, workplace violence prevention. We've had to update our policy. Training has been provided through Romer's Whalen law firm. The policy was, our old policy was reviewed by our attorneys, Eric and Romer, and this is the new policy. You all have it. Are there any questions or concerns? This is the first draft of it. I think it's in pretty good shape. Once we pass our policy, this will be distributed to the staff, but we also have to, I have to do a workplace assessment, which means meeting with departments and just say, is there anything we need to do further with our workplaces for violence prevention? So that's another step that needs to be taken. The one issue that we talked about, and I talked to the mayor about this, we did establish business hours for the building, because what was happening is our early arrivals, you know, the door was left open before 8 a.m. and then the door wasn't being locked after 4 p.m. So the mayor and we did establish business hours for the municipal building to be from 8 to 4. So any employee coming in and out before or after those hours need to make sure the door is locked, you know, for everybody's protection, and make sure that their own departments are locked when they leave, you know, their offices as well. The one item that I did talk to the mayor about is, you know, and I believe they still do this at the county, is when somebody comes in before or after hours, they have sign-in sheets at the doors. I don't know that that's necessary here. The mayor doesn't feel it's necessary because we have pretty good security with camera coverage. So that is one item that I'm recommending that we take out, that language under workplace security measures. If you want more time, what I can do is I can take that language out. We can have a second reading at the next meeting and then pass it then. But I would like to have something done before the end of the year so that it can be, you know, executed right away. Does the board need more time for this?
I don't.
Okay. Everybody else is good?
Good.
All right, then I need a motion to pass this policy.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further questions or concerns?
That's with that change of taking that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, taking that out with that amendment. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Carried. Great. Okay, highway motor equipment operator appointment. As Bob had mentioned during his report, Lehman Anson has been selected to become our next motor equipment operator. Bob, I may have misunderstood you, but I have effective 12/14. I don't.
Sure.
I don't believe he has started yet. I think there has been a little bit of transition.
Yeah.
But you know, he needs to, you know, leave his other employment, and then, so we're looking at 12/14 as the effective date. We don't need to make a motion on this. It's for informational purposes only. He's all set to go on the 14th.
And Lehman comes to us from the county. He was a operator and mechanic at the county.
Yes. And before that, he worked for Atlantic Testing. And before that, he went to Seaway Tech under auto mechanics. And I was his guidance counselor at Seaway Tech. So it's nice to see our students that go to the tech center. He also has a 2-year degree through SUNY Canton. So we look forward to him joining us. We need to set a year-end meeting date.
Could we just back up a second, Mary Ann, and could we consider the other hire?
I have that on as the last item, but if you want to talk about it now, we can.
Oh, okay. I didn't know where you had, if you had it down.
We have to add on the solar law amendment as well as that highway one. So
Okay.
let's
However you want to do it, that's fine.
Okay, let's set a year-end meeting date. This is to pay any remaining bills and take action on any other items.
How about December 31st in the morning?
How early?
10,
10?
6.
Yeah. It is New Year's Eve.
Just so I'm clear, is this where we're making the final insurance resolutions? Like, do we need, is this where we're taking care of all of year-end business?
Yes. We have that one resolution to take care of, yes.
But we can notify the insurance carriers before then of the final contributions, correct?
The insurance carriers, or you mean the,
About the
Tish.
about the employer contributions if they're changing, because if it's effective January 1, they're going to need to know before December 31st.
the employees will need to know, yes.
No, but even Tish will need to know, but I think the first and second resolution gives them all the information they need. The third one just is a supportive resolution, really, right?
I'm just making sure timing is good for everyone involved.
No, it's a legit question for sure.
Well, I don't know why we would, it's an internal thing, it's a town action. I don't know why we would have to let Tish know on the contributions. We already have the rates.
Okay.
True.
We
Okay.
already have the rates, so it'd just be a matter of us doing an internal thing. So, but I see what you're saying, Karen. So Bob suggested the 31st. What does everybody else think?
I was planning to be in Times Square with a million other people, but I guess I'll cancel that. And
Oh, okay.
I can do it. Yeah.
10 a.m., 8 a.m.
10 a.m.
Jim? 10 a.m. on the 31st?
Fine with me.
Okay.
There was only going to be a million there, Tim?
All
I
right.
just thought there'd have been a bigger crowd than a million.
All right. We need to add solar law amendment. This is Bob and Eric and Jim. Do you want to speak to it?
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. And so generically, let me just start out by saying that there's a provision of the real property tax law that generically exempts solar and wind projects from the value being added by the projects from being taxed for a period of time, and it's 15 years from when they're installed, operational. There's two methods that the town can get relief from that. The first is to adopt their own local law, opting out of the provisions of 487. 487 authorizes the towns to do that. The second is when we're notified that a project is coming to the municipality, there's an opportunity for us to demand a pilot payment. So I've proposed two separate actions for the board tonight. And the first is that the solar law be amended to specifically opt out of section 487 and the impact that that would have on the assessed value and the ability to include that in the assessments of any solar or wind development in the town. This is specifically for solar development. I think it's important, since we have an interest in solar, to get that on the books now. And we can include something more generic when it's time to adopt the a wind law. And the second thing is, I'd like a resolution so that when Jeff and I have these projects coming in and we're reviewing it with the solar committee, we don't have to come back to the board each time and say, hey, do you want a pilot? I think it's a good policy that if we're going to have these, in addition to the, the community benefit language that's in the solar law, that we be able to demand a pilot payment. So the resolution just generically authorizes to notify them that we're going to want a pilot payment as part of their locating in the town.
And we're completely supportive of that. And we've been having discussions also with Patrick Kelly over at the IDA, and they right now have 8 pilots in St. Lawrence County with solar developers, mostly for community solar size projects. And the only thing with regard to the language in the local law, Eric, that I see a potential issue is that Patrick told me that for community solar projects, which are 5 megawatt or smaller, they're settling on a 20-year pilot agreement, mainly to mirror the lease with the landowner. And that's how they've set them up so far for community. When it comes to utility scale solar, the larger 10 meg up to 240 megawatt projects, they're coming down on a 25-year agreement with the developer because that's how long the leases are for. So they're I guess they're compromising with the developer and working with them so that it mirrors. So if we're going to utilize the IDA to handle our pilots, which I think we have to, maybe we don't, but that's a question. Our law should mirror the agreements that the IDA is making. So if we set our limit at 15, the IDA is going to try to negotiate a 20-year. What does that do with our language?
Well,
So
let's be clear, okay? The proposed amendment to the local law doesn't really talk in terms of percentage, okay? And maybe it was confusing sending those on one document, but the proposed amendment to the local law just opts out of 487 period.
Okay.
Okay, and then the resolution talks in terms of the 15 years.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
And the reason for that is it matches the statute. Now, IDAs have certain advantages when they do pilots, when they're the entity that's involved in the pilot. They have certain statutory I don't know how to say it. They have certain guidelines that they can follow that are different than what towns can do. But this matches what was in the statute. So I'm, and especially given, this is kind of specific until we can get something else in place with regard to the law. I would just as soon leave it at 15 years.
But so that's not going to cause a conflict with our not saying anything in the law.
No, and
Okay.
no, again, the only requirement with regard to the law is that we opt out of that provision of 487, and then they would be subject to the tax, subject to us agreeing to a pilot.
Thank you for the explanation. That's good.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
Okay.
So should I read the resolution?
Yes, sure.
Because as the order of business, pass the resolution and then talk about the amendment to the proposed law, and then we'll have to have a public hearing in January.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
And then there's a letter that we need to talk about.
Yeah, the letter is specific to a particular project, so that might be more appropriate for executive session.
Okay. So this resolution, and I did put a heading on it, Eric. I just, put it towards our format. All solar energy systems shall be required to enter into a contract with the town for payment in lieu of taxes pursuant to real property tax law 487. Is that okay that I put that as a headline?
Absolutely.
Whereas section 487 of the real property tax law allows municipalities to require payment in lieu of tax agreements for the installation of solar energy systems. And whereas the town of Canton believes payment in lieu of tax agreements are in the best interest of the residents of the town, now therefore be it hereby resolved that the owners and or developers of all solar energy systems shall be required to enter into a contract with the town for payments in lieu of taxes pursuant to real property tax law 487. Upon the owner or developer providing written notification to the town of its intent to construct a solar energy system, the town or an employee, officer, or agent thereof shall notify such owner or developer in writing within 60 days of its intent to require a contract for payments in lieu of taxes, which shall include but not be limited to the following. Number one, In no event shall such payment in lieu of tax agreement operate for a period of more than 15 years, commencing in each instance from the date on which the benefits of such exemption first become available and effective under real property tax law 487. Number 2, in no event shall such payment in lieu of tax agreement require annual payments in an amount that would exceed the amount that would otherwise be payable but for the exemption under real property tax law 487. So I need a motion to pass this resolution.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Karen? Any further discussion? Questions or concerns? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Okay. So the second item is propose a local law to amend. Shall I just read this as well?
Well,
Yeah.
Mary, I think we, as you wish on whether you want to read it or not, but I think, realistically, what is going to be required is we're going to need to set up a public hearing, and maybe generically, again, the local law is just to opt out of the provisions of 487 of the tax law.
Okay.
You want to read it now, fine. Otherwise, at the time of the public hearing, I think that'd be appropriate.
Well, it's being enacted by the town board of the town of Canton to amend the town of Canton local law to regulate solar energy facilities in the town as follows. Add to section C, the town of Canton shall not permit any exemption within the jurisdiction pursuant to 487 of the real property tax law of the state of New York with respect to any energy system constructed or installed subsequent to the effective date hereof. The town may, consistent with RPTL 487 and other provisions of law and the implementing rules and regulations, enter into a payment in lieu of taxes agreement in respect to the installation of or improving related to any such facilities. So
I suggest we set a public hearing for 5:45 on the date of our January regular board meeting.
well, and in the past, our regular board meeting has also been our organizational meeting, so we could, triple that. Looking at the calendar, it looks like January 8th. Oh, excuse me. January 14th would be our regular meeting. That's the second Thursday. If I'm looking at this correctly, it is getting late here.
Yes.
Is that sufficient for our timing? I guess it gives us plenty of time for the public notice, but it gets it on the books soon enough for what we need it for.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim, and I think in conjunction with the resolution that you adopted, that was the idea of the resolution. It's just a stopgap until we can get the local law, just in case.
So we can get that publicly noticed. Well, is that a 10-day that we have to do or a 5-day? Let me try to remember. I think we have to do that 10 days prior.
It's 5 days for the public hearing notice. It's got to be in final form on the desk of the board members 7 days prior.
Okay, so we'll look at that. We'll get that noticed. Okay. All right, so highway.
Yeah, would the board be amenable if our second candidate were available prior to the first of the year? Are you okay with bringing them on early? It would be an additional pay period. My recommendation is if he's available, we should have him.
I agree. And keep in mind that Kelvin's position has sat vacant for at least, 6 weeks, where we haven't been paying him. So it, at least we haven't been paying that position. So we did have a savings there by not filling that position as soon as Kelvin left.
I agree. I think we need, with two new guys coming on board, that we need to have adequate time to get them trained. We could have a storm come here any minute, so we can afford 2 weeks' salary in the interest of public safety.
I support that as well.
Well, my position is that we don't have an extra position created. Even though there's the savings there, we still don't have the extra position. And so it looks like the support's going to be there. I don't necessarily agree with it. But if someone wants to make a motion, we'll do what we have to do, but.
Are you saying to make a motion to create the position? Mary Ann?
Well, I think that's what, if you're thinking that that's what we need to do and it can't wait until January 1st, you have to create an extra position. And then you have to have the exact figure on what it's going to cost. What is it going to be an MEO? And we have to look at the hours. We have to calculate all of that. To just say we're going to do this without the details. That to me, that poses a little bit of an issue.
I don't think.
As long as it's a little bit of an issue. It would be an MEO position.
And like Jim said, we have incurred savings during the transition that would be more than adequate to pay this person for a single pay period. That's assuming they're available. And I think we have to keep in mind that Calvin is still pitching in. He's no longer in the union. That's a potential vulnerability for us. He shouldn't be behind a wheel. And with COVID and the uncertainty of availability and being right in the middle of winter here, I think it's a very inexpensive insurance policy, and I'll be happy to do whatever you need to do to get the paperwork taken care of. Happy to help.
I think once Bob finds out if he's available to start, we can all put our heads together to help with calculations and get the ball rolling.
Well, it's not that we can't do that. I'm just saying, we weren't prepared to do that tonight.
I don't think anybody's asking to do anything tonight other than offer support and see where it goes.
Well, you have the support, and so you want to create another position that hasn't been budgeted for, I don't know how much time, right? Do you want to make it up to 2 weeks? What's today?
It doesn't seem like it should be necessary to create another. We have somebody in that position that is using accrued time for the duration of his active employment. So we'd be hiring somebody. They're paid at an hourly rate to fill those hours that are not being worked by someone who is using accrued time. It doesn't seem like that is the creation of another position.
I don't think there's anything here that's insurmountable.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion then?
I make a motion to, what is the motion? I don't know if we need to create the position. I'm not going to make a motion to create a position if it's not necessary. So can the Human Resources Department check to see what would be required for us to make this happen? If in fact the person's available?
Yes.
Thank you.
we can do that, and we'll get that information out.
I mean, it seems like the motion would be to allow the highway superintendent to fill the hours that are not being worked by someone who is using accrued time in that one specific, for that one specific employee. But whatever, it's
Okay, we'll have to look at it, and I'll just send you the data, and then we can go from there. Okay, was there anything else that we needed to add? Okay, so I need a motion to go into executive session for purposes of 105 H, the proposed acquisition, sale, and lease of real property. Is there a motion?
Motion.
I'll second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, carried.
I'm like,
Okay, so Eric, we need you to stay, please. Everybody else, thank you very much for coming, and have a good night.
You got it, Bob?
I hope things go better when we leave.
It is 9:49 on 12/10. I need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
so moved.
Motion to second.
Third.
Jim Danny, Jim Smith, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks,
I said
everybody.
it'd be 10 o'clock.